Hey everyone, what's up? Today I'll be doing another quick video, short and to the point. This time it deviates from what I usually do. Today I'll be quipping about card design, and no, I'm not gonna be ranting on about how I hate horizontal decks or how certain cards are very poorly designed. What I'm gonna do here is to look at the templates of certain cards and my pet peeves on them. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 1 is ambush cards. When Archangel was released back in Data and Destiny, I felt that the number of ambush cards in the game has reached a critical mass. It's that you cannot remember them all conceivably. And with 23 seconds up on horizon, there are more ambush ice coming. Well, ambush cards are nice. They are a very interesting mechanic, but really, they should have a different templating. It's so easy to forget the trigger when accessed off R&D, and the worst thing is, the co-op cannot enforce it. They don't know what's being accessed from R&D. So it is on the runner's owners to admit that they have stumbled into an ambush. And we should make it very clear to the runner that that is the case. I'm no expert in graphic design, so do bear with me, but I envision that ambush cards really should have a very prominent graphical feature that distinguishes it from any other card in the game. Perhaps something like a thorny border or a red flashy thing that warns people and triggers that sense of danger. In contrast, what we have now is a line of text saying that the runner must reveal it. Even though it's the first line of text, come on, who reads cards when accessing them from R&D anyway? Everyone knows how they work. Besides, people are more responsive to images, strong images, than they are to text. That needs to be printed on all ambush cards from now on, I feel, in order for people to stop missing the triggers. It's very unfortunate when players get a game lost just because they forget an Archangel trigger. That is just way too brutal. And a lot of it is not because they don't know that Archangel ambush is a thing. Everyone knows that, but in the heat of a tournament, when stress runs high and people are tired, it's so easy to forget that they need to reveal the card. And I firmly believe my suggestion will go a long way towards helping runners solve this problem, reduce the mental workload they have when they perform the various steps of playing Netrunner. Number 2 is the ice typing on cards in the Sand cycle. No, not that kind of ice. This ice. Have you noticed that they change the templating? It's very minor. They remove the different font and the bolding of the ICE characters. And it's not a big deal, but it just gets on my nerves so badly. Especially when now subtypes and types are getting more and more important from a game mechanics standpoint. It is much nicer to have consistent templating, and breaking this just doesn't do any good. I'm very glad that they reverted this change in the Mumbat cycle onwards, as well as Data and Destiny, but, well, at least this will rotate out. While I'm genuinely happy that they have fixed this problem, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. There was no reason for it to. Number 3 is card text templating in general. I'm bringing political graffiti as an example in here, just to illustrate how many errors there can be on a single card. The problem really lies in this sentence: this agenda is worth -1 agenda point. Let's start with this agenda. I mean, it seems quite obvious because it's a hosted agenda condition counter. Logically, it has to apply to the agenda that plays host to it. However, if you read other cards that are also hosted agenda counters like Oversight AI, they specifically state host ice, whereas political graffiti said this agenda. What agenda? I mean, it is a counter, it is not an agenda. The card text doesn't really make any sense. The text is on the condition counter, which is political graffiti itself, yet it attempts to refer to the agenda it's hosted on without using the phrase host agenda. And that just creates more confusion and is very inconsistent templating, even though anyone with common sense can make out what the designer's intentions were. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for the second half of the clause, which is the phrase -1 agenda point. When I first read this card when it was first spoiled, My initial thought was that the host agenda, whether it was a 1 point, 2 point, or 3 point agenda, would immediately become a -1 point agenda because that's exactly what's written on political graffiti. And then I read the UFAQ. Some of you might be surprised to learn, as I was, that this simply modifies the base amount by -1. So a 2 point agenda would now be worth 1. A high risk investment, for example, would now be worth 2 points instead of 3. That doesn't seem like what is written on the card. It should instead have been worded, the host agenda is worth 1 fewer agenda point. What's so difficult about using the phrase 1 fewer or 1 less? Either way, it makes it much more clear that this is a modifier instead of something that changes the base value of the agenda entirely. And this brings me to another point of card design that I have a pet peeve on, and that is that cards should not try to replace the base value of certain statistics. For example, everyone has a base hand size of 5. Some cards such as Box E or Public Sympathy modify that by giving you additional or fewer hand size. So that's fine. However, cards that completely change your base hand size, such as Theophilus Backbiter, are dangerous because this restricts the game design space immediately. You cannot have another card in the game on the runner side that modifies your base hand size. Otherwise, when it's installed alongside Theophilus Backbiter, you're gonna have conflicts. We already see this as an example right now. With the current card pool, we have Grundle, the ID, which says that the corp begins with 1 bad publicity, and Valencia, which says the same thing. The current resolution is that because they both agree with each other, the corp just begins with 1 bad publicity. However, if you print a new runner ID, a new Valencia that says the corp starts the game with 2 bad publicity, not only will it be insanely broken, but when played against Grundle, you are never going to be able to resolve this dispute. They really should be additional effects or modifiers instead. So for example, Valencia could read, when the game begins, the corp takes 1 bad publicity. That's not too difficult. Sure, this means that Grundle starts with 2 bad publicity when it's up against Valencia, but I would say that is more preferable than having ruling conflicts and restricting game design space because these 2 cards are in existence. You can't print any other ID that deals with bad publicity at the start of the game. All in all, these are card templating issues that really should have been ironed out in the first couple of cycles. Yet, we are 4 years into Android Netrunner, and we still see these grotesque errors, political graffiti being a Mumbat cycle card. It's quite disappointing. So that's the end of my video. What do you think of my suggestions? Do you have any other card templating pet peeves or quips of your own? Be sure to share them in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. And maybe, with a louder voice, we can make the card designers rethink their ways and hopefully improve the card templating of Netrunner, this lovely game. Thanks for watching Happy Netrunning. See you next time.